Oh, different background.
Yeah, it's all right, brother.
That's cool. That's fine. The, the tree is actually on our book. Actually, is
And
on.
now it actually seems better.
You can see me more. Yeah, the other one is busy, but it's kind of that's going to be the
Because I
couple.
can tell, like before when I was talking to you, that the lip sync was out, but now it isn't.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So
okay. So
yeah,
maybe it
so
took up a lot of memory. So
yeah,
yeah, we're meant to be approaching the food. So this has led me up to the food. So what I realized, so had a big separation, came across gifted with Jinshin Jitsu, started doing the Jinshin Jitsu, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I was revisiting trauma after trauma, just it was like changing a channel each time I might moved from a certain point. For instance, I would do large intestine a lot, and there's a sequence, and then I'd move to the next point, and then it's just like boom, a whole nother scene. So it's as if certain blocked stagnant energy memory was in the pathway of from hand to hand, and then I moved down, and hence you see why stagnant energy stuck in the body manifests. It always starts astrally on the etheric, and then why manifests in the physical, and whether tumor, polyp, whatever it may be, or accidents, many stories. So that was beautiful. So I was doing that for nearly about 3 months. It opened me up more. Life seemed to speed up. If anyone can get that, it's just like just quadrupled. It's like, whoa, hang on, it's just like you're going rather than 20 mile an hour. Life seems to be going, 60, 80 mile an hour, and then events would be manifesting quicker, etc., etc. And I come across an interesting guy, and he had talked about a water fast that he had done, and he didn't need to brag. He didn't even need to bring it up. I just offered him some food at a time at a festival, and he said, "No, I'm fine." And he hadn't ate for a year, and hardly any water as well. This was like 19 years ago. Nearly 20 years ago. So that really blew my mind because I didn't know anything about any of that. So I kept obviously finding out a bit more from him. So I was really keen. I was ready for change. I wanted a shift. I was kind of lost still, and it's like anything that would say fasten that process up to get me back. Also, it really resonated to me as much as the Jinshin Jitsu did. So I go on the feeling, and it's just like, go with that feeling. And the more we go with that feeling, which I see as the intuition, we can call it many names, the more stronger it gets. And then with the more closer we get to a connection, and I realized I had this connection up to about 16. It's not I'm any special from anyone else. We all have this connection.
yeah, I get you.
So yeah, so that was amazing. I was going to do a water fast, and then I come across another amazing guy where I was working. He was working in the same area in the sort of office part. It was to do with biofuels. And his name, young Adam at the time, amazing, beautiful soul. He had passed a few years ago, and he was just really knew his nutrition as well. And then, I just see him with a smoothie cup most days. I'm like, so how come you just having that? And he just says he's just on a detox, But I think from what I remember, that's all he was on, especially for that month. And he was a raw vegan foodie, At that time, even vegan was extreme to me, The word vegan is just like how do they do it, I was what they would call pescatarian.
Yeah, yeah.
So from the age of say from the age of 30 to the time I'm talking about, 44, 45, I had no, animal flesh. But I had
You say
50.
from the age of 30.
Yeah,
That's so interesting because that correlates with your Saturn return.
I know. Yeah, there's
And
some
that's
great
like
stuff.
kind of the similar story to me, but anyway.
Yeah. And then, around that, I mean, that's epic in terms of astrologically and
Yeah.
what was going on at that time for me. I'd separated from another long-term relationship, that was 9 years, So, yeah, I mean, we can have some great chats on astrology, honestly. I remember learning the astrology when I was 17. And then when I realized, and then I'm looking ahead, it's like, man, I hope I'm sorted by the time I'm 28. Because I knew what was coming. Never mind about a Saturn return. I had Pluto.
But the thing is, was you aware of? So you knew about a Saturn return at that age. So that's an advantage you have because I didn't.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
obviously, as I've studied it and got really into it, now everything just makes sense of why.
Oh, especially when you look back.
Yeah. So, like, for me, it was more of a bit of a kick up the backside. All these mad things happening to me, but now, like, I can really appreciate it for what it actually is because I understand the cycles of nature and why particular things happen at certain times. So
Yeah.
you can appreciate it more,
Yeah. And, us as a human species, we're so misplaced. We're so out of sync. So
Definitely.
what do we expect, Because we so identify. We're so in the, ego doesn't have to be a negative connotation, but it tends to be in the negative aspect of our egos of what we identify with, and it's not us, it's just imprinting, and you imagine especially from babies. I mean, the imprinting starts in the womb. That's going in this book as well. And even before that, is it genes? Is it, or is it just habitual? Let's just say it could be, epigenetics, or, but I would say a combination.
Yeah, I was about to say it's probably a bit of both.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because, like, it's funny because obviously, like, in my life, generally, I've always struggled like with weight issues, like going up and down and this and that. But it's funny because not funny, it's ironic because basically when I was born, I was like really big. So it's been something that I've kind of had from birth.
Yeah. So you got that imprinting,
Yeah, because like I was like 11 pound when I was born.
Oh, well, that is big.
And
Yeah.
apparently, it's not.
I think my partner's going. Poof.
Yeah, but apparently, the year I was born, I was the heaviest baby in the hospital in 1983. That year I was born.
Wow.
So I've had.
Was your mum a big woman?
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I've always like kind of had this thing with me, but like, obviously, like since my Saturn return, I've come onto my like spiritual journey. Like obviously I've improved, but obviously you can always improve, So it's just I understand that things are not going to happen overnight, and we just got to train ourselves to, like, how can I say, get to our destination and not give up at the end of the day,
Yeah, definitely. And obviously the biggest thing is not to give yourself a hard time about it, but obviously you recognize certain imprinting. And I mean, that would, a lot of us are just emotional eaters.
Yeah,
so,
that's with me, big time. Taurus moon.
Taurus moon, okay. Yeah, I get that. So, but in terms of, let's just say, so I recognize my emotional cravings, or, recognize myself as an emotional eater. I'm not going to deny this. So, but at the same time, I have challenged that by doing long fasts, many long fasts. And it's not really I per se, the old identity of me, because the old identity, Pete, wants to hang on to dear life, doesn't want change.
Yeah, of course.
But when I get sort of whacked on the head, on my knees seized up, and all these different things, okay, I'm getting it now, And I got fed up with, like, big fires, big this, big that. So, I made a pact with myself 18 years ago to find as many tools and protocols as I can to keep my system flowing. So,
Yeah.
and to stay as aware as I can, I look back, it's like, well, yeah, I've done a good job. And like you mentioned, we can always do better. And it has only got better. But, what is the better? It's just getting back to a sense of ease,
Yeah, exactly.
And I would say it's a birthright, that's been denied us. There's so many layers to this, but
Yeah.
so if you, I'm going to go back to the book in terms of even the parents beforehand. We talk about love. Do we really know love? That's an interesting thing. On a level, we do our best. So how was we conceived? It goes back to that. People do fasting for different ceremonies. People, really have a ritual and respect many other things, but conceiving and birth is just like there's not really any formula that is, let's just say, promoted. So, or where I see again, it would have been known. We would have been more aligned, more in high vibration, eating cleaner foods, not junk foods, and not, eating corpses as well. That's my thing. It might trigger people, but so we would have been eating living foods,
Yeah.
the living foods, and so then we would have conceived. It's like, to me, it's a no-brainer. If you're going to plant something in your garden, most people are going to get the best seed they can, heirloom seed, the best soil. So there's the dad, there's the mum. So we try and sort ourselves out before, don't give yourself a hard time, everyone, because I've done that many a times and not really had that awareness. But if that was more reiterated and known to people,
It's interesting as well, brother, because it's like, because even with me, like for example, when I like transitioned to stop eating flesh and dairy, I remember, man, I was like, that initial angry vegan that, oh, you're all evil and this and that, and I'm like, but even that, like as a vegan, you like transform and your attitude changes, and you got to learn not to judge people. And because at the end of the day, I can sit here and start calling out names and stuff, but I did it for 30 years of my life as well. So I've got to remember that I was once in their position. So we have to show some sort of what's the word? Empathy.
Empathy, compassion.
Yeah, like, do you get what I mean? It's like
100%. 100%.
It is really like tough. Like I find it as time goes on, I find it even weirder and weirder and weirder that we consume these stuff. Like the other day, I came across a video on YouTube, and it was like in China, and this guy just had loads of pigs' heads, and he was just frightened. And I was watching it, and I thought to myself, how? Like how or why or
how have we got to this? How have we become?
Yeah, it's just like,
now we're allowing that
brainwashing, like you said, for the program from the beginning has been so deep. Like literally, it's like like my Saturn return was like literally I got slapped out of a dream. That's how I would kind of explain it, because I jumped from like the everyday world of how most people live to then now I'm not eating meat and I'm, these other things, and like, but then like the dangerous thing with that is like, sometimes it's good to divide, not necessarily divide yourself from other people, but be around good-minded people and people with a high vibration. But at the same time, I feel that you got to learn the balance of not trying to be like narcissistic or think that you're better than others. Do you get what I mean? It's hard to try and find that balance, because there's days where now I still like, I'll see something online, and my inner passion and rage about what's going on wants to like lash out.
Mm.
And there's the other side of me that says, no, relax.
Mm.
You're just reacting, like, so calm down. So at the end of the day, the way I see it is, you might think you're battling against other people or evil people, but the good and evil is just in yourself, and you have to just try and come to that
Yeah,
central point and balance it out,
yeah.
rather
I
than
mean,
lashing out at other people and finding
yeah.
like,
And there is a fine balance, because there's a lot of spiritual bypassing that goes on as well, And so the more we can do, obviously, is the better.
yeah,
But on a level, yeah, I might come out with a few things here and there, but I know me, and I know
yeah,
deep down, I don't forget where I've come from. I don't forget, once you've cleared a lot of your, I'm going to say more of your potential issues, imprinting, you know, so I have so much for my mum, love for my mum. She's passed, and two sisters who have passed, and
yeah,
even my sister alive. And my brothers, regardless, whatever story anyone wants to hang on to, it's immaterial,
yeah,
And if I hang on to anything, then literally fool me. I will be fool me.
yeah, yeah,
So he says, "Come on, Pete." So, and that's the old Pete. That's the survival, in fight or flight
yeah,
Pete. Had to survive, youngest of six, and all of us having to say survive a certain scenario, environment, life that we all had, So still, I'm going to identify that as the old me, you
yeah,
know, because if I reiterate to me, Pete, it's just like, well, I'm identifying with that,
yeah,
it's to ignore that, but to know that, and to know, unfortunately, I didn't have certain awareness, certain education, certain people around me. Generally, we were all thinking very similar, eating very similar, and all kind of running the gauntlet in where we were, if you get what I mean.
yeah,
So there does come a point though where so if we don't stand for something, we fall for anything.
exactly,
So
yeah,
there's a point. It's just like I've been on this food journey 18 years now, and 17 years of that taking it to festivals. Because what I realized in a year and a half of doing the food, 2 years into Jinshin, and a year and a half doing the changing my food, cleaning up my act, was, wow, us as a human species, this is 18 years ago, we are all in a real bad state,
yeah,
and I only got to see that by clearing up some of my state that I was in, and so then sort of a strong message: get out and share what you've been doing. A year and a half with the foods, like I was flying on top of a mountain. It's like sending a monk down to the city. Go on now, you go and take that to the city. I'm like, really? Oh my, and really see your mirrors. It's all very well being up on the mountain. I'm not going to knock that, because there's many things in terms of on the astral level and the meditation. However, for me, why was I born in Croydon? Why was I born in South London? Why was I born mixed race as well? Or why did I choose that? I get presented with these things. Why did I choose the lineage of my mum, the lineage of my dad? And it's not I'm looking for answers, and it's not I get this from books. It's dropping in. You get lots of answers, So, and then, where you could say, yeah, well, who's answering, who's observing? There's all this interesting stuff. But the more you work on yourself, the more you get more clarity. And so, yeah, so I was on the food journey, clearing one thing after another. Why people stop certain practices, whether it's yoga, qigong, the food especially, is because if they had the insight, they would see something's come up. Oh, I don't do that anymore. Oh, that didn't work for me anymore. And it's just like, because I did have that other, let's just say, approach and learning in my teens, I got to see so at least you can choose right rather than being in ignorant and just blame this person, blame that,
Yeah,
blame.
exactly. That's what I mean. The blaming thing. The only person you can blame is yourself at the end of the day.
This is it. Yeah. But if this was all taught by our education at schools, known by our parents and friends, which if you're acting triggered and strange, they just look at you like, you would be the odd one, But unfortunately, you stay grounded and centered and calm and wise, then you would be the odd one because everyone's in this fight or flight. And then they feel uncomfortable because you're bringing up their stuff because, you're vibrating at a higher vibration. And then, behold, what happens? They're all on your case,
Yeah.
Knowingly or not.
Either way.
Say that again?
I said you can't win either way.
Well, the thing is, going back to what I realized of being on it a year and a half, it's like, whoa, we are in a bad state. And, around festivals, everyone talks about brother, sister, and it's a bit flippantly thrown around the place. But in that moment, I get 10th of a second kind of boom, images and it's like the different path lives, and I really got the essence, the download of how much we truly are in a state, and they are all my brothers and sisters, truly, not just throwing that word around,
Yeah, no, it's true, because at the end of the day, like, we're all connected, because at the end of the day, we all breathe we're all connected to that one consciousness, but it's just being expressed through us differently, like in different vehicles. Do you get what I mean? And having different experiences.
Massively, and then the old me, probably the old you, would watch this now and be probably like, what are they on about, man?
Exactly. That's another such an interesting thing, brother. Like,
no, I don't. I probably even got mates who might even watch this from years ago. Like, what is Pete doing? What is he on?
Yeah.
It's like, man, if they only really knew, but the repetition of the ritual that we do every day, so it gets reinforced. So that identity of the old John, Simon, Paul, Russell, whoever it is, gets reinforced. So on a level, we can really be grateful for certain relationships that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Certain so-called traumatic experiences. I can honestly put my hand on my heart and say, wow, I am so grateful for them, and some of them traumatic, but however, coming through that, clearing it, it's just energy blockages, energy, everything comes down to energy, you know. So we, it's like the river, the meridian lines, you clear that. Man-made belief or the conception of pain and good and bad, it's just the imprinting. So once you clear that in your cellular body, more so than just doing it in the mind, because I've come across so many people just doing it in their mind, and then it's a contradiction of what they're doing in their life. So really, when you really do the work, then you really get it. So I don't want to go off too much, but we're supposed to be going on the food. So
that's right, brother. It's at the end of the day, everything's connected. So
it is. I'm just trying to keep, if we can keep an audience as well. I don't want to make it too, too I'm not saying it's uninteresting. It's very interesting. So, I was in a toxic car trade, classic car welder, painter. So for 20 odd years of my life, from the age of 16, I had 18 amalgam in my mouth, like mixed mercury fillings, you know, 2 gold caps on, 2 of them, but realized there's mercury amalgam underneath. So I had 18 by the time I was 16, and I had them for another 28 years of my life. And then I had, I was working in the car trade. So I had heavy loads of toxicity,
Yeah.
you know? So there was times I could hardly string a sentence together. Even, I even catch myself now, still cleansing. So I could see why I was shown that it would be gone if I didn't really shift and change. Like you saying at 30, you shifted and changed massively.
Yeah.
I'd been 20, 30 years, contaminating myself even more and eating junky vegetarian,
Yeah, same, brother. Like, that's what I mean. It's just like, it's weird, like, because you see, like, obviously I'm doing a show with you now, right? But like back in the day when I was like doing like my channel and that, I just used to do shows and shows and shows and like talk about it all. But then I've gotten to this stage now where, you know what, I don't want to talk about things. I need to start doing them.
Yeah.
I think that's the like part that I've come to now. After 10 years of going down the rabbit hole and talking about all these deep stuff and health things, I'm thinking, yeah, it's all good talking about it, but
no, got to walk the talk, huh?
yeah, exactly. And that's the point where I feel like now I'm at, and I want to like, and I'm starting to like make that transition, because it's all good, like saying, oh yeah, I'm vegan and this and that and that and this, but like obviously my main initial reason for becoming vegan wasn't for health, but why not do both?
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? If you can be vegan and be healthy, it's even better.
Yeah, and in terms of
because like yeah, it happened for me mainly in like 2024. Basically, I was basically in 2022, my mum passed away. And then after all that, I got a job in like I was a chef in a vegan restaurant. So I've always been into cooking. So my last few jobs have been like working in vegan restaurants.
Nice.
But which was cool because I feel like I was doing something that I had some sort of passion for, and it's for a good cause, But then like I was like doing it, but I was working like ridiculous hours, like 60 hours a week, and
Wow.
I just got like blown out, and I left kind of my job and whatever. So obviously, because I'd worked for quite a lot, I managed to like save a bit of money. So my friend Lee, he has a place in Portugal in the mountains.
Nice.
So I went out there for 2 weeks and lived the, how can you say, the off-grid life, would you call it, I guess. I got a taste of it and eating more pure and more raw, and I loved it. It was amazing. And ever since I've went there and I've come back here, I have incorporated it, but I still slip up. I'm not going to lie, like I've done like the longest fast I've done like a fruit for 1 week.
Brilliant.
I've made it a habit now. Like even if I don't do it the whole week, I at least have to do it 2 or 3 days a week.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, and that's the stage I'm at the moment. But like again, it's not a sprint. I know it's a marathon, and it takes time for us to like.
It does, and then the environment you're in. If you're up in the mountains, you got like a potential closer to blue zone, clean air.
Yeah.
Natural springs, I'm sure, nearby, and the foods. We as we've gone to a few different countries, we are getting blown away by the fruits. Because imagine being on my partner's probably about 8-9 years now, 8 years or 9 on this journey as well.
Yeah.
But so for me, your body gets so you can really sense the food you're putting in your mouth.
Brother, when I'm not eating, it feels like I'm meditating for the whole day. It's amazing.
Isn't it?
That's why I know it works.
This is
But
it.
like, and like, it's weird. Like, I kind of like slap myself because I feel like I contradict myself because I know better, but I know you're saying don't be too hard on yourself, but it's like I kind of get this frustration with me. It's because like I know better. I've done it. I've felt how it is not eating cooked food, but yeah, I still kind of after a particular time I'll start feeling a bit shitty, and then I'll have my first meal, and then it will go. You get what I mean? But like the first thing I did was when I came back from Portugal in 2024, I did a watermelon fast for 4 days. And that's the only thing I've done out of all the fasts I've done and all the like the detox things I've done. That's the only thing I've done that I actually released something, and like I've released some mucoid plaque from doing a watermelon fast.
Nice.
So like when I did that, I was like, oh wow, like it kind of gave me a bit of inspiration to like carry it on and that. And yeah, I mean like about a month ago, like I said, I've done like a week of this, and I felt really good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, since the Taurus season's kicked in, I've been a bit all over the place. I don't know if it's because of my moon placement being in Taurus, but I've kind of been a bit here and there with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
there's
it's
so
a journey.
much.
Like
There's so much emotional layers to it.
yeah,
You know,
there
again,
is.
the environment you're in. You know, also the environment. You know, you're probably more in a 5G
Yeah,
scenario.
yeah,
So, you know, sometimes, you know, if I put myself in your situation, I would probably just be doing more heavier within the raw. You know, going back, we would have, especially when my partner was pregnant with our first child, we were getting so into quiches, you know, but raw quiches, but it was, you know, lightly dehydrated an hour or two.
yeah,
And but we was having quiches nearly every evening. You know, it was through the winter time as well. So for us, that's indulging.
yeah,
That's us, you know, a comfort food.
yeah,
But we would make sure through the day we might be doing about potentially a liter of juice, you know, apples, and go, you know, foraging in the gardens, dandelion, cleaver, put celery with it, but and you know, plantain at times and milk thistle. So we would, and even the wild grass, we would be putting that in there and mixing.
yeah. I've used milk thistle like the drops of it. Like
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you got some good sort of woods or something nearby off the beaten track, you can find some beautiful stuff. I mean, I was going to say it's the time now. Watermelons is in season, yeah. In England, so you can get some good watermelon. But you know, being on the journey, I remember I was doing. I actually did a 120-day juice fast a few years ago, but I remember I was 30 or 40 days in, and someone who gave up alcohol and gave up smoking and just done a few days, and it's like she's comparing. I'm like, wow, you know what you have done is far more than me. I've been at this so long, you know, but what you have done is miraculous. So well done. So you know, we shouldn't compare. It's not really wise to compare. You know, maybe if we want to healthy compare to ourselves on, but you know, we be accountable for that.
I mean, everyone's always their worst self. You're always most critical about yourself, aren't you? That's just, I think, the way humans are.
The more sensitive ones are, yeah.
Yeah, so like, I guess, you know, but yeah, it's just, again, like talking about, like you were saying about quiches and that. I was looking at some of your raw gourmet stuff. Wow, brother, man! Like, I got to congratulate you. Like, I saw the one you did of the carrot cake, and I showed it to my brother, and he was like, "Wow, that actually looks like a real carrot cake." And that's
Oh,
so cool. And is that just for people, the people watching? Because obviously, I know you've got your Simply Rawgeous website, and
that's
also
it.
I follow you on Instagram and YouTube. But I'm going to put all these in the description
Yeah,
anyway. As
beautiful.
we're
Yeah.
here talking about it, just let people know your main social media links so they can check out your
Yeah,
stuff.
well, we have an Instagram, so it's Simply Rawgeous, and Facebook, Simply Rawgeous, a website which is just getting updated,
Yeah,
and we do have a YouTube channel. So even and then I do this channel called The Living Field,
yeah,
which I've only been doing it maybe maybe 4 or 5 months now, and then because it's an extension of me doing festivals, me getting it out there. It's like, okay, let's bring another stage. So we can bring, like you are, bringing people
yeah,
on onto the stage. And so people can, let's just get more educated, have more information if they
yeah,
choose. And so they're the main avenues we do. I've done a few of our own personal festivals over the last 3 to 4 years, simply Rogers. Small turnout, and
Was you
generally
in Ladbroke Grove last? Was it last year you was in Ladbroke
we
Grove?
we we supported Ladbroke Grove, yes,
Yeah, because I
because
saw that, and my aim was to come, but I didn't get round to it.
yeah, that was beautiful. So
Yeah,
they have a vegan night once a month.
yeah,
It's called, what's it called? Yeah, but yeah, Vegan Nights Portobello. Check it
yeah,
out. Really worth going. So we wanted to support that. Everything has cost us. Our events has cost us. 17 years doing the festivals. It was me on a shoestring doing it. And then maybe the last 3 years, we got just about enough to survive. A wage. So it was never about. That's the beautiful thing. It was never about the money. You know, yes, needed to sustain doing it. So sometimes the prices had to go up, but they
yeah,
even were never more than vegan. The vegan food at festivals, they're never more than them. And there's probably 3 times as much labor and 3 times as much cost. So we one time in the first 4 years, a friend, more older lady, well into her nutrition, was working with me, and she said, "Pete, you got to change these prices. It's look, just shush. Let's just get on with it." She goes, "Right, I'm going to sit down with you at the end, and we're going to go through that." At the time, they were £5.50. You'd have a big plate. So I wanted to give what I would have, what I would want. So we're giving big plates out. And we sat down and worked out that the meal, just ingredients, was £5.
yeah.
And people might see money coming in, but they don't realize how much. It might cost a few grand
Yeah,
just
of course.
to take the event there. So we put it up to maybe £2 or £3 more. And then you get some people moaning about that. But what people don't realize, they had Simply Rogers at certain festivals. They had such a treat. So many, touched thousands of people. And we had maybe 8 to 15 people sharing, volunteering. So they had the opportunity to just see how quick things would be done. The foods. Me and my partner look back, if we had that, we would be jumping at it, to learn. And then people learn how quick I can do them, so quick and easy. Really, it's no bragging. It's just you can make it really easy and quick. I could many different sauces as 4 minutes. Ice creams 5, 6 minutes. You can just really knock them up quick.
Yeah,
Um, at festivals, and lasagnas, pizzas, falafel, burgers, raw curries, chocolate talk, lemon, they call cheesecake, but lemon cake, banoffee pies. So I love my food, like you. I love my food. So I'm like, right, how can I copy that? So that's why it got very gourmet,
yeah,
because I meet lots of people. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not messing around with that. I'm just going to go straight to the fruit back then. And then I meet them a year later, and they're kind of hiding or guilty because they've gone back. Because it's wise to take the journey. you know, if it's vegetarian to vegan, you know, to fruit, whatever, you know. But even though mine was straight from pescatarian into raw vegan, you know, and I didn't
Oh
look
wow!
back.
So you didn't even go like
No,
the
didn't flip flop.
vegan thing. You
No,
just went straight there. Even better.
straight in there. And
Even
then,
better.
you know, so there's a fine line with like, well, you got to take it easy and all this. And so I didn't. And when I look back at what I was having in my literally diet, was, you know, I love tea. You know, so I'd have about 3 or 4 teas a day, and I'd have 3 processed white sugars in each tea, and
Yeah.
then I would be cheesy pasta, you know, and pizzas, and I'd be priding myself on getting these. You probably know, like the happy eater, you know. God knows what's in them. In them, you know, there's like 50 ingredients where I can do a pizza with 4 or 5 ingredients. What are we putting in our bodies, you know? So it's no wonder majority of us are having ill health, having so many stories, and you
Yeah.
know the younger generation are having more stories because the adults aren't getting their act together, you know. So you know we're bringing in more unhealthy younger generations. There is hope, and we can shift it and change the
Yeah,
more.
man. I mean, like, definitely. I feel like even like just in general, I'm not saying like we've still got a long way to go collectively as a consciousness for us to move forward, but I do feel like things are changing slowly. You know,
Yeah,
people are more open to different ideas or alternative ways of seeing things because, like, and like, because I feel like a lot of people like for example back in the day like they might have wanted to look into these stuff but didn't want to seem weird to their friends or to their family, so it might have stopped them from taking that jump to do something like
massive.
to
Imagine
change
me.
like
Yeah,
drastically. I remember even like when I stopped eating meat and that like a few times I had a few arguments with my mum and that because she kind of couldn't accept that I wasn't eating meat anymore and things like that, and we'd get into arguments and stuff like that, you know. But then,
well, it brings up yeah, you're breaking a pattern. So,
yeah,
you know,
it's
be
just like,
quite
well, people think
imprinted
you've
into
gone
your mind.
weird, you know. People
Yeah,
like, and that's the thing that like people don't, because people have a certain perception of who you are, and they don't want that to change because then it's
yeah.
going to change for them as well.
But you know, on another level, you are choosing to be less sedating because
Yeah,
heavier foods, the more sedative you are, you know. So you're not feeding a story. So let's just quickly go to a couple of things there. You mentioned, so when I was 17 learning the astrology, there I was with my mates. I even remember him now, even if he manages to watch this, my mate Russ, doing his chart. I'll be doing my mate's charts, you know. And I even remember, sometimes I forget people's name, but I remember the chart. He had a sun moon conjunction in Taurus, you
yeah,
know, and then there was other things. So I'll be sharing, you know, all the bits of new information I will be having and with family and friends. And
yeah,
it blew me away once I understood the logistics on the synchronicity, how it worked in life. And I was introduced to astrology with this more shadow work, psychology, you know, um, introduction, you know, but immersed in living in weekend strength never ends, I'm going to call it, groups towards the end of it. So, you know, once again, it wasn't learning the theory, it was immersing myself, you know, at 17 and 10, 20 other people, you know, and then going trauma coming up, going through stuff. So, you know, and so there's different ways you can approach it. But what I realized on my whole journey, I'm going to say why I could not sustain it was because I didn't have the food awareness. In these groups at the time, there was an ethos about vegetarian, but for me, I did not have the food awareness or the inner understanding that I have now at all. So and a protocol that I could really discipline myself, with the Jin Shin Jitsu. It doesn't have to be that. So I had the two things. So to me, that was like doing yoga, so I'm doing two practices without even thinking. So there's two things that are supporting me. Every mouthful is supporting life, and every flow is supporting movement, supporting life. So, like the kid, 1 minute might be, or the child, 1 minute it might be end of the world crying, and then the next minute it's just like happy bouncing around. So on a level, to walk through the gates of heaven, we have to become childlike. So
Yeah, definitely. I totally.
but that can be here now. We don't have to wait. Everyone waiting for return of Christ or whatever it is. Christ consciousness,
Exactly.
Our Christ consciousness. And then so, and the heaven can be here now. We've spoon fed with all these theories and all these different information. Honestly, you do the work, you get your own answers, and you really, your body intelligence wakes up, going back to again, yeah. So I didn't come out a lot with the astrology and what I was doing back at the time, but people knew about it, and I would share it. And if certain people get to see this now, I'm sure some people will. But it's all very well. It was me. I used to do the same thing. I would take the mick. I was always a nice guy. I'm going to say, far as I'm concerned, it might be a few people say, yeah, what about this? What about that? But anyway, my character was very unselfish. I had to learn selfishness. Youngest of 6 as well. So I suppose I had to find me. So I got 5 other archetypes imprinting on me, as well as my mum, and as well as messy stepdad. So I had so much clearing to do.
Yeah.
So hence, I'm going to say again, separate myself from the LP, because hey, I'm back. Who's back? More my soul, spirit is back.
Yeah. Your true essence.
This is it. Not weighed down by the just stagnant energy, getting bitter, twisted. And we, especially our generation, and even more generation older than us, we have so much to share. And I'm a living proof that you can move through your crap. So you older generation, get it together, man. But you don't have to. That's fine. But because we can really have a massive effect on the younger generation. There's some beautiful younger generation coming out with so much amazing stuff. Still to a degree though, we got to be careful in terms of how far down are our roots going. The thing is, we can look great, we can reiterate, regurgitate. It's really easy. My daughter at 3, 4, wow, she could reiterate so much stuff, and then we slowed it down because she's getting praise for it. So she loses, then they're lost. They just become this doing things for praise. So we can all do that. How strong are our roots? How experienced are we? Can we stand in a storm, and not run? Can we, and then we have to look back on our lives, and actually I get shown, oh well, yeah, I did then, oh maybe I didn't then, but I can so I think and there's so much false information. People might learn about parasites, learn about this and parasite cleanses, this and that, and do one over a few weekends or even breath work for a year or 2, and then they're telling me about, hey Pete, try this, and they don't realize I learned breath work 45 years ago. They need to brag about it. And I learned astrology then, and then it's just like parasite cleanse. My first one was 2012. Epic, my hair stood on end when I saw what was coming out. So there's a lot I have in terms of experience and putting together and sharing, and this is giving me a platform to reel off as I am. But what I realized, 17 years on serving festivals and serving people, helping people, sharing as I did, 2 people, 10 days, I would be up there doing close to a Gerson therapy with them, helping them, supporting them on their journey, and many, many other things, groups, joining me in my ritual in England at every rising, me and my partner at 6 a.m. Ice bath saunas, ice bath saunas, ice bath saunas, you know. And so they would come for 3 or 4 months and join me on that ritual. So there's been a lot of sharing, you know, whether people took it for granted or not, it doesn't really matter. You know, my thing is, you know, keep working on yourself. People get what they need to get. So we got to, you know, I use the word careful. There's so much information out there, and people, I would say, really need to be more holistic, more well experienced to be able to just, you know, you throw different things at me and it's like, oh yeah, I can give you something back that has depth, as opposed to, you know, quickly reciting what someone else has said.
Okay. Yeah.
Even though there might be some bits I might be doing that. So the food journey was epic. For me, I look back in retrospect, the food did it for me, and the discipline, you know, the food and ginseng. And also I had 3 members, well, 2 members had passed away at the time, you know, and so lost my elder sister when she was about 35, I was 28. So that was epic, you know, and I could say I didn't realize how much that affected me until I revisited it many years ago, and in doing my own breath work on myself. So, and then realizing, you know, that was down to supposedly cancer. But on a level, you know, it's not just the food. If we've got unresolved trauma, then that affects how we are every day, you know. So we may chase these dreams, chase these ideas, and we like you burning out 60 hours a week to chase a dream. Well, where's that dream come from? So really, we're running away from ourselves. Ultimately, running away. We've been spoon fed. We've been spoon fed these dreams, and really, they're just carrots. You know, because we don't have more wiser people or elder people, elders around us to sense their field. It's more about sensing, you know, rather than telling someone, you know. It's like, you know, monkeys see, monkey do. That's what we do when we're children. We are energy bodies. We just copy, you know. So that's such a heavy imprinting. We do not realize it's so big. But, you know, I could go on more about that, and I'll lose people because that's massive, you know, if we really want to shift, you know. And then so the food was epic, you know, and I did do the transition straight in to raw vegan, and the first few strengths, I'm going to call them, didn't have a clue. My main chunk was avocado with salad, and I'm researching, learning more. I'm making a sauce to go in the avocado, and then coming across these powders. But I wish I'd known about or took notice about parasite cleanses back then, because to me, there's different data out there. To me, I would have done it so much earlier, because you know, who are you feeding? You can be buying all the best foods. If you get the right foods and herbs, they can naturally slowly cleanse. However, who are you feeding? You know, you're feeding your homies, man. Your homies that have been with you for whatever period of the time, you know. And then, you know, so it's just like, until you get them out, you know, it's you aren't really getting the real benefit of the nutrients that you're putting in your body, as well as many things that your lining and your intestines clogged. So, you know, like a stocking, nothing's coming through, you know, it's going in, something else is feeding on it, you're getting a bit, and it's coming out the backside, you know. So, you know, so the food was a big one for me. And so I would have cravings on my early few months of my raw vegan journey. So I'd do my ginseng. You know, you can meditate, etc. Find something that you can go a bit deeper to get witness, like the trigger. Bang, there I am, 7 in a trauma. Boom, wow, forgot about. There I am re-experiencing this trauma. So what did that tell me? I had them for years, revisiting old trauma, whether it's with my brothers, with my sister, with bullies at school, whatever it may have been, stepdads. It was just, whoa, all things we bury. And so what did that tell me? Our food by choice has got us to survive to that level, but they are sedating us. So they're mild sedatives. So they're a mild state of like a pharmaceutical, and especially these days, and especially for a long time with what goes into the foods, just the processed sugar, the salt, and the pizza, the cheese. And when you think about the wheat, it's just we're putting bombs, nuclear bombs in our body daily. We don't even realize it. We think that's our normal state, but again, unfortunately, there's not people around to really take people through this journey, or it costs a lot of money, capitalized in that respect, because, you can see systematically the children have been trying to be taken out, the elders have been taken out. So, no wonder we, are quite lost. But the food is big.
Yeah, because with me, brother, like now, I've got to the point now where it's like I'm actually like, it's like I thought, because obviously I went from just the normal thing to obviously now I've been vegan 10 years, cool, or whatever, which is good. But then now it's like I've come to that next stage where I'm thinking it's not even like, it's like, because I know better, it's like I even feel like even when I'm eating a normal meal, and it might even not even be like that bad, for example, it might be even like a Whole Foods vegan meal, for example. But then I think, oh wow, it's just like, I don't know, I feel like I'm at that point where it's just
maybe at a plateau.
yeah, it's like, cool, I've done the vegan thing, but now I need to take it to the next.
Yeah. I never would have known. My first fast was a few years in raw, into my raw, maybe 3 years in. I did a pure green juice fast. The main basis of that was, in terms of liquid, was celery and cucumber. And then might be cabbage, spinach. But pure green, no apple, no ginger, etc.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. Every ache and pain, that little ache and pain in my body had just disappeared in 4 days. And when you talk about just not eating for a day, you're in that meditative space. It's been epic, and always, generally around the third day, it can be challenging. And
Yeah, that's usually for me.
yeah,
Like you said, the third day, that's when it starts.
yeah. What I've witnessed is that, them critters in you are giving it all on the
Yeah,
third day.
of course.
They're giving it all, man. So you really recommend get past the third, fourth day, because they want to be fed. They don't want to be fed the junk food you are on, man. They want to be, and then they give out chemicals. I've heard so many interesting things, and I can sense that. And even in terms of infiltrating your thoughts, 100%, 100%. And again, people may think we're wacky, but what I would say to certain people, rather than judge and let's just say criticize, look around you, look at potentially your brother has gone, your sister has gone, your mother has gone, and younger generations have gone. Look at that, and honestly start putting two and two together. So rather than criticize and joke and potentially take the mick out of vegans, and energetically see where energy bodies manifests on the energy body first. So if we put in death and trauma in our body, the impact that it has on our body, especially when you do the clearing, do the cleaning, it's massive, and the massive impact that we're doing on a global scale, massive genocide going on, in terms of the animals. And we talk about, recognizing many years ago that, hey, yeah, you're all my brothers and sisters. But then as time has gone on, wow, all the other sentient beings are all part of us, you know, and it's horrific that we are not addressed in that, and we take the mick, and let's just say glamorize my big burger. This year I'm gonna go
It's such
down
an
and
interesting point you've bringing up, brother, because this is the thing that I've kind of been not angry or like a bit like I've been thinking about a lot lately. Is like, for example, like there's a lot of atrocities with war and stuff like around our earth, unfortunately, whether it's Palestine or wherever it is, Iraq, Afghanistan, whatever it is, and it's, it's like it's all over. Like, and ever since I can remember as a kid, like they say, oh, there's World War One and World War Two. I've always remembered wars ever since I was a kid. Like, I don't necessarily see it as World War One it's just I've always known there to be war.
Yeah, they're glamorized as well, aren't they, in the movies as well?
And, but what I'm trying to say is like I see a lot of posts of like people saying, oh, like protesting for Palestine, for example, which is good. I'm not having a go here. I'm just saying, like, it's all good that we're doing these things and it shows that we care. But at the same time, most of us are still we're actually collectively as a consciousness, as a human race, we're to blame for all this stuff because we're actually helping it happen by supporting the meat industry or the dairy industry and ingesting these things. Because how can we have peace, like you're saying, if we're full of toxins and like, because at the end of the day, whatever we put inside, it's like projected back out, how you were saying earlier, like we're projectors, you know. So
and then
inducing bad, like negative energy, we're going to be putting out negative energy. So,
like the beacons of light. And what are we animating, you know? And if we're not animating light and not being self-accountable, then we are animating the shadow, all this war and grief, because we're inside at war. You know, you're repeatedly putting in death, war, and even, you know, take it to another level. Just even we're all, say, God's children, etc.
Yeah.
And so beautiful that we're not harming the animals, but still, you know, you might go to the gate. It's like thinking you're cool because you're being vegetarian or raw vegan and etc. Now, you might go to the gate thinking you're going to be accepted in, but it's just like, well, even in the raw vegan, you can abuse your body, you know? So it's just like, but you still didn't really get it. You're still abusing. So beautiful that you didn't abuse, you know, your fellow sentient beings. 100% beautiful. Please, everyone, get off that one, you know. But then we got to move on to the next step. Get back to that childlike aspect of ourselves. How is that? How do we get back to that? You know, the more we go back and revisit the times that has, in terms of like electric shocks, you know, the shocks that we have had that has shut us down, and then we can become back to that more childlike quality, you know, not the spoiled child, not a narcissistic child, not an overperforming child, just
the innocence.
The
innocence of being young. I know, like, and honestly, that's so interesting that you brought up that, because I do feel like I've gone back to that a bit, like since my, like, I've gone on my journey. You know, you do naturally become more childlike once you start taking away certain things or not entertaining certain things, you know, and you come back to like who you are, not even like by your name, like I'm Mehmet. Well, I am Mehmet, but that's not really who I am. That's just a label of who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm updated version of Pete, really. You know, whatever. So, we can upgrade it, update it, whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, in terms of you know, the childlike. So what I realized on this journey, literally from 18 years ago, I was I was nurturing this child that was cocooned from about the age of 3. You know, years ago when I was 17, I revisited a pretty deep trauma at the age of 3. But I only did them for a year and a half. And I realized in retrospect, looking back, there's so many things I can look back now and see, you know, how and why they unfolded. So I look back, and then the more, that's as far as I could go, whatever we want to say at that time. And then boom, head down, running away, like burying my head in the sand, because I didn't have the support around me, didn't have the awareness and the tools that I have now to go through the next layer of trauma, you know, or another layer, because it's like shredding a skin, you know, you know, and then you shred a skin, and you know, I meet people and it's like, oh, I've done it, shredded the skin, like, right, yeah, give me it all, bring it on, you know. I never say that anymore. I do not say that, you know. It's like, well, if you're going to bring it on, can you be gentle, please, you know? You know,
be careful what you wish for ultimately.
Oh, massively, because and I watch people, you know, pumping out these certain fasts and parasite cleanse, and they're banging them out there. But you know, we need to make sure our roots are strong, you know. And this is just a compassionate man guy, just expressing, you know, because who's really run the gauntlet, really gone through the mill, you know.
Yeah,
and,
that's why I wanted to have you on, because I know like you've been doing it for a long time. Do you get what I mean? And it's good to speak to someone with experience, you know.
And it was great having the early groups that I did, held me in massive great stead, should I say, through my life. I didn't realize, and when I chose to slow down and chose to really integrate 18, 19 years ago, then things, oh, that's what that meant when I was 17.
Yeah,
oh, that's
exactly.
Because
you have these epiphanies later on.
It's just like shoving your food down, and you're getting on shoving your food down, but you're not appreciating loving the food. You're not going slow. You're not digesting it. So through life, we can just go through life without digesting, really being slow. So, you know, and then we haven't really learned anything, you know. And if we have learned anything, I would say, looking back, you know, a lot of it was, I won't say a waste of time, but it is wasting time to stay connected. I could have still done all the same things connected, you know. The one thing is to stay connected. There was some book where, you know, I don't know, what comes to mind is like, you know, oh God, you left me. And then God's saying, oh no, you look down, and he sees God's footprints is always with him. So we always have a spirit. We all have, our spirit is always with us. You know, we just repressed it, suppressed it. So going back to that child. So I was re-nurturing that child. So we needed, because no one else is going to do it. So I'm for sure going to have all these, as most, going to have all these little shocks and traumas that have kind of created the triggers, created the I call it flip-flop, going back and forth, you know. And so, you know, you could do many things. You could, in the evening before you go to bed, you know, have a journal, write down, you know, simply, why am I keep doing this? Why am I keep doing that? You know, and then, you know, you can get the answers in the dreams. Don't come straight away, but it does come. So,
I mean,
that, you know,
what I do, brother, which is a bit like, you know, like, for example, like sometimes like online we post things like to kind of like, maybe people say, oh look, I've done this today, or I've done that today, or I've done this fast today. Like, the way I kind of look at it as posting, it's not like me like bragging. I do it kind of, it's like to remind myself. So when I am online and I see it, it's like almost a teacher to like kind of keep me in check. So like if I am scrolling through my page and I see, oh shit, look, oh that's when I've done that fast. It's like a little reminder for me.
Yeah, like a journal.
Keep me in check. So that's kind of the way I do it. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's many things about being on the internet and all that. I mean, when I first had the opportunity, someone said, Pete, you got to get your food out on Instagram. It's like, what? what's Instagram? I didn't know this was about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way I'm going on that. And then in my more meditation, it's just like, well, Pete, you do the festivals. Why are you doing that? What was that reason for? It wasn't wasn't I have a desire. It was like, well, just share, be a humane person, humble person, share what you've learned, especially if it has benefited you, us as a human being. And I lost my thread there. My daughter's trying to pull me away. So from that perspective of sharing, just coming back to a nice person, that we do have to revisit and reparent the child that was never authentically
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
nurtured.